Yes. Right. This enlightened me because I'm old. And as you get old, the memory goes away. Okay.
So the question you were talking about the levels of souls,
Right.
and yes,
Okay.
karma. Yeah.
Yes. So we got to the new souls that are new on the planet that lives half a dozen times before it merges into the young soul. The young soul has had a few lives, and they've experienced life through karma, what they've done, right? But the young souls still have to evolve their consciousness, which means they got to go through their challenges that they create for others and for themselves. So after that, after many lifetimes of challenges and difficulties and being, moving out of the body into the next dimension and returning, which we know as reincarnation, that soul, through its experience, evolves its consciousness, and it becomes what we know as a mature soul. So a mature soul is compassionate, is tolerant, is forgiving. It has all these attributes of goodness. That's what a mature soul is. It does the right thing with everybody else. Now, that takes them into different levels of growth. So a one lifetime mature soul is not the end of the story. So a one lifetime mature soul has to still evolve its consciousness. As we know, as you have learned in your course with me, SMA, there are 7 levels of the consciousness, right? So the soul has to graduate in their levels of consciousness. So they're moving from the higher consciousness to the super consciousness and so on and so forth. So what this means lifetimes. It means continuous lifetimes, over and over and over, and it's learning, it's developing, it's growing, and extraordinary things happen in the life after for growth and development. Right? It's like doing your homework. When you haven't done the day's work properly, the teacher gives you homework to go through and do the homework so that you develop a certain level of knowledge and ability and learned experience, right? So that's what happens. This mature soul has to learn, has to develop, has to grow, and it will learn not to do this and not to do that, but do this and do that. So this mature souls goes through many lifetimes. And I, for one, has had something like 600 lifetimes. That's a lot of living. A lot of good living. So we develop.
How many lives do you think the average soul would live
About
before
600.
enlightenment?
About 600
So you're almost there.
Yeah, but the situation is even that people get it wrong. So I can get it wrong too. I can get it wrong,
and then
which means I have to come back a few more times, right? Because all it takes is one serious mistake, right? So it's cleansing, right? So karma is cleansing the soul, cleansing its soul for the kind of things that it's done to other people, right? But I say to everybody, speak the truth. Speak the truth. Be strong. And even if you, like I said on the video recently, even if you have to say somebody is a fool, it's not wrong to say that, because you're allowed to criticize another person from a point of knowing. If you don't have the knowledge, my teacher said to me when I was a young guy in college, he said, if you know something and somebody else is doing the same thing but doesn't know it, you're allowed to criticize. It's not called judgment, it's called criticism. This is constructive criticism. So if you say somebody is a fool, that's their behavior. You're not criticizing the person, but their behavior. The behavior is foolish. You know, you can even say idiotic behavior. So people behave in terrible ways, and we have to stand up. Like yesterday at the shopping center, we were at the shopping center. There was a gentleman across from me, and there were young kids walking by. And you know, this is Castle Towers, mind you. It's a good shopping center, and you know, people are dressed well, most talk well, and so on. And these kids were using abusive language, really bad language, walking past us, not completely unaware of their environment, or they don't care about the environment. They're just walking by and using the most terrible language you can imagine. And this gentleman said to me, he said, "That's really terrible." I said, well, the society is becoming this way. You know, parents are swearing at each other, kids are swearing at the parents, parents are swearing at the kids. They're using this abusive language at home and in their environment. And the kids think it's okay to use it in any environment, not respecting other people. So now all those souls will have to relive their life again, because it's not a judgment. They will have to learn what it is to respect other people. You have to respect other people. This is life, and that's what this life is about. Evolving your consciousness is about respecting life as much as the lives of others and your own life.
Just a question on that, if you don't mind me asking. So for those children that ended up with families that speak words like that or treat their children like that, or who normalize that kind of behavior, would you say those souls of those children got into contract with the souls of their parents in order to actually experience that learning? Is that how that works?
No.
Okay.
No, because we learn things as we go on. Your soul is designed by the palm of your hand. When you look at the palm of your hand, everybody's destiny is on the palm of the hand. There's an expression, your life is in the palm of your hand, which is true. The palm of your hand tells your story, your journey. But you can change that journey by adapting and adopting certain things in your life. So a soul can come onto the planet learning before it enters, these are the things you must do and mustn't do. So it enters the planet with that in its consciousness to say, those are the things you must do, those are the things you mustn't do. So it comes into the planet, and then it's about to say something. There's a warning signal in their consciousness, say, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And people avoid that, and they do it. So there must be a consequence. So the warning sounds are there. I mean, how many times we have in our life done something that was incorrect, and we had a warning signal, and the higher consciousness gets a greater ringing than a lower consciousness, right? So it says, don't do it. And after 3 times, and we still do it, and then we suffer afterwards, and we go through some kind of trauma and difficulty, and we say, why is God punishing us? It's not God punishing us. It's the universe having the laws, and we have to follow the laws. And if we don't follow the laws, there is consequence. So we can learn, and that's what it is.
Polarity.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, thank you for that, Hanshi. I think Toni has some questions for you too. Toni?
Yeah, sure. I would love you to, so elaborate more on your personal and your emotional and your physical battle with your mind and your body to the viewers?
A personal battle. Yeah, well, personal battle started when I was born, right? 4 months premature, dropped out. Next battle came along. Mom dropped me. 4 months premature, dropped me from my hands. I wiggled out and I fell to the ground. It was like 10 stories for me. I fell. Lucky I didn't land on my head, then I wouldn't be sitting here today. But I landed somewhere. But the amazing thing is I learned break falls before I was born. Isn't that amazing? So, I must have been dancing around my mom's womb, and
you were a martial artist before you even began.
Right. Yes. Doing all the techniques and the break falls before I came out, and and I fell and I survived.
To the stomach.
That's exactly right. Mom used to complain about the pains that she used to get on the side, So it was all the side kicks that I was doing.
I love that.
First start somewhere, right?
How it works. Yeah.
It was your destiny.
That's the way. I mean, I don't think it was my destiny to be born in that kind of situation because it was premature. Premature coming before time, right? And my birth was premature, but not destined to be premature. So I would have been either an April baby or a March baby, but I was born in January, right?
Wow.
So, so coming back to your question, Toni, your question was what?
So more to elaborate more on your personal, emotional, and your physical battle with your mind and your body combined.
Okay. A lot of the emotional problems that I've had was the South African challenge. The emotional challenges that I had here in Australia was an Australian challenge. These challenges have come along by not my doing, but people's doing. Other people's problems have emotionally affected me in my developing stages. These challenges were given, not created by myself, but created by the others. But the beauty of it all is, how do I cope with these emotional challenges? Do I face it head on? Do I keep silent? Do I say something? So my attitude was initially to keep silent. Keep silent, say nothing, everything gets done. But then I decided to retaliate, not in a bad way, but respond to the challenges. So the emotional challenges that came from others, I responded to that in a very gentle way, in a kind way, in a loving way. But some people never learn. So the result of that was I then had to stand up and get stronger and say, no, this can't go on. Let me do something about it, which I've done. So I stand up. So if anybody says, oh, you shouldn't be using your title, Hanshi Deena Naidu, because it's arrogant, I stand up to it and I say, I have a right to do it. This is something I earned. I didn't go to Japan and pay a fee to my Grand Master and say, now that you like me, can you give me the next grade? I had to earn it. So I earned it like a doctor going through the process will go through intense study and become a doctor and earns the title. I, as a karate teacher that has been doing this art for 60 years, right, as earned the title, has worked hard, blood, sweat, and tears. And so it is my right to call myself by anything I choose. Anything I choose. And it's got nothing to do with anybody else, None of their business. It doesn't matter who they are. It can be the president of the karate organization. If they chose to address themselves by such and such, it's their priority, their prerogative. It's got nothing to do with me. I can't say, don't call yourself like that. You can call yourself anything, right? But I choose what I choose for myself. I will call myself whatever I choose. Don't like it? Step out of the light. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. That's what I say, you know? So these challenges came along and I dealt with it appropriately. So what happened as a result? Today, I have thousands and thousands of people that are now paying attention to what I'm saying because I stand up. I stand up to these challenges and not afraid to speak up. But I do give in if I'm wrong, and I say, hey, look, I'm wrong. I shouldn't have reacted in this way because I'm still human and I'm still going through this process of developing. So if I'm wrong with something, I put both my hands up and I say, look, I surrender. I did the wrong thing. But at the same time, I'm not going to surrender to something I am not guilty about. So this is how I fight my emotional challenges. I don't act like a coward and scurry into some kind of corner and believe it's not there. I'm not an ostrich who puts his head in the sand and believe nothing's happening around it, right? So we have to be, righteousness is that. When you live a life of goodness and righteousness, you have to stand up and say, this is it. This is what I believe in. Prove me wrong, prove me otherwise, I'm happy to do that. So the physical challenges also came, where when I was a young boy, I was assaulted in school by a guy that was 17. I was 10 years old. He assaulted me. But that's a beautiful experience. And why do I say it's beautiful? Because after that, it got me to realize that self-defense is an important aspect. So what did I do? I learned wrestling. So there was a police officer next door to our home that taught the young guys wrestling, and I was part of that team. So I learned wrestling. And then my uncle, who was a state boxing champion, taught me boxing. But I wanted more. I wanted to learn more. And I got into karate. And in 1975, I went to Japan to meet a real master. Those other teachers were good. Look, I can't complain. They gave me a good start. But the real master lived in Japan. The real master lived in my heart. So when I met my real master, he led me to the real master in my heart. And that's what it is today. I follow the master in my heart.
What a beautiful story. Thank you, Hanshi.
Yeah. Amazing, Hanshi. Just a little comment on your last answer there. I guess something I'm starting to realize is there's a difference between being compassionate and submissive. So something I've had to learn, and I think my sister Toni also has had to learn, is boundaries are really important, and being able to stand in your truth and speak your truth, and compassion. Even though we can be compassionate and kind and loving and understanding and all of those things, if someone's doing wrong, being compassionate doesn't mean letting it go. You still have to be able to stand up to that in a compassionate way. So that's I really appreciate you saying that, and that's really supporting something I'm discovering.
I just want to add something to that. Too much compassion is a weakness. Too much tolerance is a weakness. Too much forgiveness is a weakness. Please understand, there is boundaries. There is boundaries for compassion. There is boundaries for tolerance. There is boundaries for forgiveness. I'll tell you a battle in the Mahabharata and the Indian stories, right? Krishna stood on the battlefield with Arjuna, and Arjuna said, we're going into battle with my relatives. And Krishna said, so what? So what? They are just relatives of your body. They are not relatives of your true self. He said, you have to kill them. You have to destroy them. You have to annihilate them. He says, but those are my relatives, my kith and kin, my nephews, my uncles, my aunties. He said, no. No. He said, on your side is goodness, on their side is unrighteousness. Right? So, do you want evil to overshadow the world? Do you want wickedness to overshadow the world? And Arjuna didn't know how to reply. He said, no mind of goodness will allow unrighteousness to take over the world. It's about time people stood up for righteousness and fought against things that are incorrect. The problem with human life, you see today in human life, there is this too much of compassion, with the result people get everything wrong. Too much tolerance, they allow bad people to take over. Too much forgiveness, with the result nothing you do is right anymore. So I say, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be viewing this, so I say, have limit on your compassion, have limit on your tolerance, have limit on your forgiveness. If somebody has come and injured your family, injured your children, injured your kith and kin, you have every right as a divine being, forget about human laws, as a divine being, you have every right within divinity is to stop it immediately. Immediately. You can't wait for tomorrow. If somebody is going to damage your family, you have to protect him. As a protector of your family, you have to protect. You can't wait and say, let somebody else come along and save me. No. It's like that preacher in his house when the floods was coming. He was waiting for God to come, right, and save him. And he prayed. And the floods came up to his knees, and he went up onto higher parts of his house, and the water kept coming, and he kept praying, and the water kept coming, and he went up onto the roof, and the water kept coming, and he's praying. He said, please God, help me. A boat came along, and they said, look, jump into the boat, we'll save you. And he said, no, I'm waiting for God to save me. And the water came too far, and he drowned. And when he went to heaven, he said to God, he said, I waited for you to come and save me. God said, I sent the boat. And you didn't do anything to save yourself. He says, you have to do something to save yourself. If you have to save your nation, or you have to save your people, or you have to save your family, you have to do what it takes to save your family.
Amen to that.
Thank you.
And do it.
Amen to the universe, because that's where the information's coming from, and I don't take any credit.
Thank you for that, Hanshi. That leads me to my next question.
Yes.
If you could talk to us about divinity and demonic energies. So there's a bit of a segue there.
Fantastic. Right. Divine energy is source energy. Source energy is divine energy. Divine energy is life energy. So your source, your divinity, and your life is surrounded by love, embedded with love, radiates with love. This is divinity. However, when that energy of life chooses to be vain in its ways, to be horrible in its actions, to be bad with its language and its mouth. There's a descending of the energy, not the prime energy. The prime energy of life and love and divinity is always the same. But what happens is they create a membrane around them, and that energy reduces and becomes animalistic in its ways. And when it becomes animalistic, that is not enough for that energy. It goes further into darkness and it becomes demonic. Now, the consciousness doesn't speak to demonic beings at all. The conscious mind only speaks to an average mind and a divine mind and a cosmic mind. It doesn't speak to demonic minds. The only thing that speaks to demonic minds is its own mind. It's its own ego. So what does it do? It has no voice telling it not to do anything. So it can decapitate another human being without hesitation. That is the demonic mind. If a person can kill a child through the most worst ways you can imagine, that's a demonic mind. That's a demonic mind. It's not a good mind. If you can kill innocent people without any hesitation whatsoever, that's a demonic mind. So demonism is the condition of the mind that has gone down, has descended from its normal state to below animals to that of divine. We are on this planet for a greater purpose, and that is to evolve our consciousness from an ordinary mind consciousness to a cosmic mind consciousness to a divine mind consciousness. That's the purpose of life. But what happens is new souls coming onto the earth, they suddenly appear on this earth with no memory of what they were in the previous life. And they see everything around them. So greed enters them, jealousy enters them, hatefulness, and all these negative qualities enter them without any thought. And they suffer repercussions. They go away, they taught, they come back. It's this continuous process that a new soul goes through, and then it becomes a young soul. A young soul is more learned, more experienced, more learned. So it comes as a young soul living many, many lifetimes. Eventually, it becomes a mature soul. Mature souls are now moving towards the cosmic consciousness. The cosmic consciousness. And then as it grows, it moves into the divine consciousness. And when it's in the divine consciousness, there's no turning back. It becomes a teacher soul and then a master soul.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hanshi.
If every human being on this planet can learn what I shared from the divine source today, this world will end all its conflict in 24 hours. All its conflict will be gone. When they realize that when they hurt somebody, they're hurting themselves. When they hurt somebody, they're hurting themselves. So,
and that divinity lies within everybody.
That's right. I always say, you are a being of goodness. You are an embodiment of love. As my teacher always said, we are embodiment of love, right? So we are an embodiment of love. We are a particle in the universe that is filled with goodness. We are part of the universe, and that part of the universe is the entire universe. So we are the tiniest of the tiny and the biggest of the big, all in the one energy.
Beautiful. Thank you, Hanshi. I think we might have time for just one more question. Toni, have you got anything you'd like to ask
Yeah,
Hanshi?
sure. Do you have any, last words of advice for the viewers today?
Well, as this video, could this video last for another 2 hours? Because I got a lot of things to say. But I'm going to just cut it real short. Firstly, we have to recognize who we are. When we recognize who we are, everything changes. So when I say to people, who are you? And they point to themselves, they are saying, I am spirit. And where are they pointing? On their chest. And this is where the spirit is. I am spirit. I am I. I am God. I am love. I am the source. I am divinity. I am life. I am life. I am light. When they recognize they are light, they are life, they are goodness, they are all those precious things I mentioned, they won't do anything to harm another, but they will stand up for righteousness and truth. That's my message today. Stand up for righteousness and truth. Don't cut into a corner and say, hey, and pretend it's not there. If you are a leader of an organization and one of your members has done something incorrect, stand up and say, that was incorrect. That was incorrect. Like they've just done recently to me. Somebody attacked me from another organization. I got nothing to do with their organization. Attacked me from another organization. And the people around him and associated with him, instead of defending me, they are telling me to surrender and say, that I must raise up the white flag and let it go. I did that for a reason. I did that, and to end this nonsense that people can't see right from wrong. It shows the character of the people, right? It shows their character. If you are righteous in your ways, you will even go against those around you and say they're wrong. They're wrong. That's a real person. That's a real divine soul. When a person can stand up and say, I am wrong. I am wrong. They are wrong. That is strength. That is courage. That is truth.
And it's love too.
And it's love. We are love.
It's love. We have to work from a place of love. And about protecting yourself and others and people that you love and protecting humanity. And teaching others where we see that they need to have a lesson, or they need the truth spoken to them, even if it's hard. Yep.
Well, what is hard anyway? What is hard? If you're following the ego, it's hard.
That's
right.
If
you're following your heart, it's not hard. It's not hard to say I'm sorry. How hard is it to say I'm sorry? It's not hard. Yeah. But if your ego is sky high, you're not going to say I'm sorry. You're going to say, I was wrong. I'm sorry.
Yep.
There's a nice prayer in with the Hawaiians. It's a beautiful prayer for healing. The first word is, I am sorry. Second, please forgive me. Please forgive me. Third, I bless you. And four, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I bless you, and I love you.
I love that.
If every human being takes that and says that to everybody else, when they are wrong, they are divine. Immediately they recognize the divinity. Otherwise, they're going to be just messing around many lifetimes over and over, keep coming back to learn more lessons.
Wonderful,
cut the journey.
Hanshi.
If everybody listens to me today on this podcast, their 500 lifetimes becomes 250. If they deeply listen to me, it becomes 100 lifetimes. In 100 lifetimes, they can be masters of their souls. And that's what it is. You become a master of your soul. Become a master of your soul. Become a super soul. Become a cosmic soul. Become a divine soul.
Let's raise that consciousness, hey?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
let's level up together.
Yes.
Yes, we've done it already. Alana, Toni, myself, we've done it already. That's why you're talking to me today. I'll tell you this, you ladies have reached the highest pinnacle, right? Highest. That's why you're here talking to me today.
I feel honored, and I know Toni does too. We really appreciate this opportunity with you, Hanshi, and it's a very, very special honor. So thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you. But what we need to do is to thank divinity. I'm just the instrument. I'm just here delivering what the universe wants me to say.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I think we have a minute remaining today, and so I think we'll just close by saying thank you, Hanshi, and thank you, Toni, and thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. And I think this is something we need to continue. So I would say stay tuned for more wisdom and more insights from the lovely Hanshi. So thank you very much.
I'm happy to talk to you every week. The universe.
And please, yes. We'll take questions if anyone wants has any topics they'd like to ask, and ask away. We'll talk about everything. Let's talk about all of it.
Yeah, we are going to get a lot of nonsense coming our way, but that's okay.
Bring it.
That's okay. I'm happy for bring it on. Bring it